Hey, good morning and welcome back to the coffee break. It's time to take a time out, sit back, relax, have a gab session. I'm going to talk at you through the camera and share some thoughts, ideas, observations, and experiences and stories today. And from here on out, of course, any other video that you watch. So, if you want to watch more videos of me just sharing these things, then please don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification bell so you'll get notification of any future videos that pop up at you. And don't forget to give me a big thumbs up if you like the video and share with all your friends if you're so inclined, and come back and see me again. And I don't want to forget to tell you that I do want to try to keep a conversation going with anyone out there who's interested in doing so. So leave your comments, your ideas, your thoughts, any suggestions in the comment boxes below, if you don't mind. Okay, well, today I've written down a few things over the weekend that I thought I would be interested in talking about. So, one of them is the idea of one never knows. Things aren't always the way they appear to be or how they seem, right? Most people know that already. But what sparked me to think about this a little bit further in terms of how we relate to each other, how people relate to one another, is through the art of letter writing, which is something I still do on occasion. Mostly I send out postcards or cards, and I keep it brief, but I still send things in the mail to people to let them know I'm thinking about them and I'm in touch with them, and I'm trying to, stay in touch with them and inquire a little bit about how they are and tell them a little bit about what's going on with me without being overbearing in a long, long letter. Now this year I have written a couple of times to my family 2-3 page letters, but I haven't been in the habit of doing that in quite a while. People don't write letters anymore. It's like email. People don't like to send emails anymore, and they barely know how to text, and yet that's the world we're living in with social media, is that we're trying to stay connected through all these apps, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, WeChat, or WhatsApp, or something like that. All these different ideas or platforms that you can express your ideas and thoughts and share things that are going on in your life with the world. But it has cut down, incredibly so, on our ability to communicate and stay in touch with one another and confide in each other and have all those communication tools in place for which we used to have. And one of the things that we used to do is letter write, right? No pun intended on using right. Anyway, I got a card in the mail this past weekend from an old friend from high school who I used to go out with, and she sent me a card because she wanted to let me know that she was, thinking of me. She was sending condolences because of the loss of my stepfather and my foster father, stepfather, the guy that really has been the only dad I ever knew. He passed away last month, and she sent me a card. Now, I have been the king of postcards for a long time because when I was in my early to mid-20s, I would often be on the road traveling, and I wanted to send postcards from wherever I was to everyone that I knew to stay in touch with them. That's what friends do. They stay in touch even when they're away from each other. So I would be doing that all the time. And I have kept that up through the years, and I find that it has become increasingly more difficult to communicate with people who don't communicate back. So reciprocity is part of the process when you're communicating with people. And even if you're sending out cards and letters and postcards and what have you, you can't really stay in touch with people by sending them a card once a year at Christmas time. So when I got this card, I was pleasantly surprised because I do not hear from her very often. And even if I send her a text message, I might not hear back from her for a week. So this is where we are in our ability to stay in touch with one another and communicate with each other. We just don't do it at all. And it's sort of like, in my mind, I think of it as out of sight, out of mind. So if you're not right there in their face talking with them, if you're not on the phone actually connecting with them in some capacity, then you aren't really maintaining that relationship, and you're not communicating, you're not staying in touch. All those valuable things that we have as a social being, that we're as a society. We supposedly like to get together, and we need each other. And if you talk to sociologists and psychologists, they'll all tell you that we're all social beings as human beings, and we need that in our lives. And yet we don't do that. No. It's all sort of instant gratification oriented, and if I see you right here, right now, then that's the communication, and as soon as it's over, period. And so when you get a card like this one, I'm pleasantly surprised, aren't you? I'm always excited when I get a little letter or card in the mail, and I don't really know anymore the full impact of how people feel when they receive cards from me. Maybe it shows that I value them and that they are thought of, and maybe they don't think of that at all. I don't know. But sometimes I feel like when I get a card like this one this past weekend, that I have more impact than I realize. Just because people aren't being responsive anymore doesn't mean that they don't appreciate the effort I put into trying to stay in touch and letting them know that I think about them or what's going on in my life, so that they can feel like they are connecting with me in some capacity. All that being said, you just don't know what's going on in other people's lives. And I find that if you are out of sight, out of mind, then you can expect never to hear from these people very often. Whether it's your friends or your family, even people that you're sort of carrying on a relationship with, like romantically, if they don't respond to you, you're not building a relationship, and you're not it's not a relationship. You can't build on that very much. That's what I'm saying. You have to be right there in their face, I guess. But this time I got the card, and what she wrote in the card, my whole point of this video is to say that one never knows. People might be going through things. People might be experiencing something that they're not sharing with you. They may be having to work extra hard, and they just don't have all the extra time or energy to even sit down and write a card. While I say that, at the same time, I realize that a text message doesn't take much time at all. In 30 seconds, you can respond to someone and say, "Hi, I can't talk right now," or something like that. Or even if you left a voicemail or an email that says the same thing, "I'll be back with you as soon as I can," kind of thing. At least it lets someone know that, you got the message and you are interested in communicating back, but you just don't have the time right now. Okay, that's a thought. But one never knows, and sometimes I think we're just lazy and we just don't reach out, and that's the hard part. And as we've experienced in the last year, we know that more than ever that life is short, how meaningful it is to share with other people that you care about, how much you care about them in whatever capacity that is, and not be shy of that, not be afraid of that. And I find that even after all that, and even though we're continuing on with this pandemic, it still is difficult to communicate with people. However, this card I got, which I've been stalling getting to the little piece that really got me to thinking about the idea of one never knows, is that she shared in the card her condolences, which was very nice, of course. I think that was the only card I got like that. But she said, because I've known her since high school, all these years, and I never hear from her but once or twice a year. She said, thanks for hanging in there with me, knowing that I just don't get back with you very quickly at all anymore. And she said, thanks for not giving up on me, is what she said. That started me to thinking about, one never knows. You really don't know what's going on with somebody else, unless you're actually right there with them and you see it and they're able to communicate that with you verbally. If you're not in their presence, then everything is out of sight, out of mind, and therefore you just don't know. Sometimes I think, well, I didn't hear back from them and I hope they're okay, is what you're thinking, right? But you don't know. And then eventually they send you a note, and then you know that they're okay, but you just don't understand why they don't necessarily respond. So reciprocity is very important, and I would encourage everybody who's watching this video to reciprocate communications with people. If someone texts you, you're not too busy when you're on your phone and you're on social media all the time to at least respond back and say, hey, got your message, we'll find time to get back with you later, or something like that. You're not unable to respond in some capacity. So I'm not passing this as a judgment call. I'm just saying it is possible to reach out or reach back to the person who's communicating with you. If it's an email, you can do the same thing. If it's a phone call, you can do the same thing. Even if you just call them up and say, hey, I got your message. I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't have any time right now, but I'm going to call you back as soon as I can and we'll have a nice talk, okay? And you have a nice day. And then that's that. I think if we remembered and are conscientious of being reciprocal in communications, then people would know more that we care about them and want them in our lives to that extent. And it's not just a matter of courtesy. I've got people that I know who just won't communicate at all, and that tells me something. That tells me they don't want to be friends with me anymore, and that they've only been courteous to me because I've been, making the effort. But life is not a one-way street, folks. So, if you got someone trying to contact you and say hello, be genuine and be courteous. Even if it's professionally courteous, respond back somehow. I think that's the important thing. But also from your end of the stick, if you will, you really just have to remember that one never knows what's going on in somebody else's lives, and don't hold it. Don't hold a grudge, don't take it too seriously, don't necessarily cut them off and say, I'm not going to ever be a part of their lives again. Now, that's difficult, I know. Sometimes you have to, because you have to say, okay, what's going on here? Is this really a relationship of any kind, friendship or otherwise? And am I getting anything out of this? I guess it made me feel, getting this card, that I'm glad I haven't given up. I may not always understand, but that's because I'm not getting the reciprocity. So that's my encouragement to everyone today, is to reciprocate on communications from other people, friends, family, loved ones, what have you. Let them know that you care, and don't be afraid to reach out or reach back to them in a timely fashion so that they know too, and they feel included and not excluded or boxed out of your life. Okay? But on your end, just remember, one never knows, and don't give up too soon. Okay, I guess that's all I have to share with that idea today. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope that what I said made sense, and you get something out of that. And if you have any ideas you want to share back with me on that, I'm sure I could carry this conversation a lot further, but there's only so much time on a coffee break to sit down and talk with one another about these things. So we're just touching lightly on the idea. And if you have any comments, leave them in the comment boxes below, as I said earlier. And we'll do this again next time right here on the coffee break. Until then, you have a great day now, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.